So one of my subscribers has asked a really good question, which is basically what are you going to do as a van lifer, or what do you do as a van lifer when you get old? And I think that has two angles to it really. One is what do you do in terms of your financial situation, and what do you do when you kind of lose your mobility, when you become less able to walk around, and you just become more achy and less energetic. So I've been thinking long and hard about that question. So I'm going to attempt to answer it briefly here, addressing both aspects. I might change my mind going forward, so I might come back to this question a few times on this channel. I'm in the absolutely gorgeous Fox Rosehill Gardens here in Falmouth, one of my favourite little spots for relaxing and doing little videos like this. Never been along this path, so let's see where it goes. So in terms of the financial situation, well, so my plan, so currently I'm kind of working part-time whilst I'm building up several sort of side hustles, working part-time to address the immediate cash flow aspect of kind of financial viability, and building up the side hustles for kind of longer term, both cash flow and building up savings in a bank account. So the first thing I'll say is that because your costs, your day-to-day costs, are so much lower when you're living in a van, or in my case a car, I think that's a really good kind of starting point, a very good baseline situation for building longer term sustainable or financial sustainability. So I think there are two ways you can kind of deal with that greatly reduced day-to-day kind of living costs. It can give you a lot more freedom, so you work a lot less. You could live more kind of conventionally and work normal kind of office type hours, a 9 till 5 job, 5 days a week, and therefore earn a lot more money but spend a lot less. So if you choose to take the opportunity to work a lot less hours, that just gives you an awful lot more freedom. You're spending a lot less money, therefore you only need to work a lot fewer hours, and therefore you have a lot more freedom in your day-to-day kind of opportunities to do things. But because you're choosing to work a lot fewer hours because your costs are a lot lower, that does mean you're earning a lot less and you can save a lot less. So you're essentially favouring time freedom, freeing up your time by working less. You're favouring that over building up your savings. Or of course you could choose to work much more normal hours, a 9 till 5 job, and therefore earn kind of a conventional wage, but because your expenditure is so much lower than is conventional, you can save a lot more of what you earn and build up your savings. And as you get older, that obviously means you've built up a really good pot of savings, which could help you live a more comfortable life in your older sort of age. So what I'm currently doing is neither. I'm basically working quite long hours, so currently I'm doing a part-time job to earn some cash, but then I'm also doing the writing and the video content creation to try and build up kind of side hustle type income generation approaches. So multiple streams of income. So what that effectively means is you end up working a lot more hours than you would if you were doing a 9 till 5 job, but in a much more relaxed way, because you're, on the whole, you're your own boss. So it's a much more kind of free way of living, but it doesn't mean you put in less hours. Now, just to recap the question, What do you do as a van lifer when you get old, or a car dweller in my case? If you live in a van, what do you do as you begin to get older? And there's a second aspect to this question. So we've already addressed the kind of the financial aspect of getting old when you live in a van. What about the kind of the health, physical kind of angle to that question? Obviously, as you get older, you begin to slow down. You have less energy potentially, and you become less kind of flexible and generally less kind of mobile and energetic. So, by way of example, I'm currently living in a car, very small car, C1, and I have to kind of scramble into the bed, which is basically takes up the passenger, where the passenger seat would be, plus where the back seat would be. That's effectively now my bed, and I have to scramble into there, so I have to be very flexible and kind of, it's no good being stiff and achy and basically decrepit, so to speak, if you have to do that. So as I get older, I fully anticipate that I will become less flexible and less able to manoeuvre in that way. Obviously, in a van where you're just stepping up into a van, it's potentially no more difficult or potentially easier than living in a conventional house where you've got rooms upstairs and you've got a big staircase to go up and down. So I think if you live in a full-size van, say a Sprinter van, then you're just stepping up into a van, and so getting old really shouldn't be a problem in that regard in terms of just your general manoeuvrability. There could come a crunch time if you live in a van and you lose your sight, so you become, or you lose your kind of quick response. Obviously, lots of older people do drive, but it could affect your ability to drive, and if you do lose your sight to such an extent that you can no longer drive, that could become a serious issue if you live in a van and you're mobile in the van. Of course, you then might have the option of becoming stationary in your vehicle, somewhere on a trailer park or something to that effect. My eyesight isn't great, I wear glasses. So yeah, that's another aspect of getting old. I think really though, I wouldn't have said the issues are any worse in terms of general health and mobility if you're living in a van than they would be if you're living in a conventional static house, apart from that one aspect of needing to drive the vehicle. Obviously, if you live in a house, you potentially have a vehicle. There's goldfinches up there. So, you can run into the same issue as a house dweller. Now, an advantage of living in a vehicle as you get older is mobility. So if you don't like the cold as you get older, then you obviously have the potential, depending on where you live in the world, you have the potential to move away from cold winters into warmer climes. It's a bit difficult in the UK where I am, but if I was in mainland Europe, in, I don't know, Germany say, I could easily drive south for the winter to escape the kind of continental chill of that kind of continental European sort of landmass. Head down south into the Mediterranean, say, or along the Adriatic coast through Croatia into kind of Montenegro, Macedonia. So you can easily kind of escape the cold in a vehicle, whereas if you're stuck in a house, then you're basically stuck for the winter. Eventually, as you get old, there could come a time when you need care and attention, and that could be very hard to deliver in a van, potentially, in a vehicle. Next to impossible in a car. So I think at that stage, people in conventional houses quite often go into sheltered accommodation, and you can do that as a van dweller potentially. It's lovely blackthorn in flower. So I think you can kind of address that aspect of getting old in the same way you would if you were living in a conventional house. And again, as a van dweller or car dweller, you've potentially accumulated a fair amount of savings which could help to finance your kind of older age care that you need potentially as you do get older. So again, there are kind of advantages of living in a van or a car as you get older, just in terms of the financial ability to look after yourself in older age. Lovely primroses. Could probably address the two aspects of that question. The question being, what do you do as you get old if you're living in a vehicle, a van or a car? To recap my response in terms of finances, what it does do living in a van or a car is it dramatically reduces your costs if you play things right, and that enables you to work less or work conventional hours and earn a lot more or save a lot more because you're spending a lot less. So it gives you that kind of financial cushion much more effectively being in a low cost van dweller compared to a higher cost house dweller. And then the second aspect, in terms of just general physical health, I think, you know, you could be afflicted by the same health problems in a van as you would be in a conventional house. And if you become completely immobile, such that you can't drive, then you could run into problems. And if in very much later life you need care, then that could become a bit of an issue in terms of living in a van. But I can't see that being completely unsurmountable. So if there are other kind of aspects of things I've not really addressed in terms of getting old if you live in a car and a van, or a van, do drop me some comments down below, and I'll attempt to address them. But do pose some more questions, because I do like getting questions from the people that are watching these videos. That's part of the purpose of creating this channel, is to engage with people that are actually watching the videos. So for now, that's it from me, and have a lovely rest of your day.